Coming up, we're going to talk about what we know so far about the Disneyland Hotel DVC Tower. Coming up next. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC Show. Coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, co-owner and realtor with movingtoorlando.com, Mr. Sean Fall.
Hi.
Mr. Paul Krieger, I forgot your title with
Hey, everyone.
World of DVC.
Member Relations Specialist.
Member Relations Specialist. Okay. Also joining us, Jodi Gross, Senior Sales Associate from DVC Resale Market.
Hello.
And, of course, Miss Kerri McPherson, the DVC Rental Store Brand Ambassador.
Hi, everybody.
And not to be forgotten, Mr. Rob Lindsay.
Hello.
Webmaster Doc on the boards. And, of course, our producer, Mr. Corey Fiescanaro.
Welcome home.
Out of the hospital and back in the saddle.
There we go. Back in the saddle.
Drove straight here.
No, you should have seen him when he got out of the house. It was like he'd been in the wilderness for 6 months. Just like the hair was crazy. The beard was crazy.
The hair's still crazy. I trimmed the beard. The beard was bad.
The beard? No, you were like enlightened mountain man when he got out of the hospital. But he's doing better. Was happy to see him and have him back.
Happy to be back. I'm just happy to be here. Oops, that's the wrong Corey.
Yeah, you got
stick to welcome home.
You're wrong. Yeah, it's the wrong tagline. So, before we get started, just a reminder: this show and all of the DVC content that we produce for DVC Fan is brought to you by the World of DVC, which includes DVCResaleMarket.com if you'd like to purchase a DVC resale, DVCRentalStore.com if you'd like to try DVC before you buy, or you want a larger unit that you want to save some money on as opposed to going through Disney directly. DVCRentalStore.com is your one-stop shop for that. And, of course, MoneraFinancial.com, who will help you make it very easy to finance your next DVC contract. Okay, so we thought we would talk about this show has actually been on the schedule for months.
Long time.
And I keep pushing it back. So it was like time to do this show. I, for one, am very, very excited about the Disneyland DVC Tower that is currently being built, slated to open sometime in 2022. My guess is springtime. Have they officially announced when they're going to open?
Not that I know
don't think
of.
they have.
No.
But based on things I've heard, they're going to start selling mid-year next year. They normally do that 6 to 8 months before they open. So that would put us in the first quarter of 2023 is my guess. Now, with all the crazy that's gone on in the world, who knows what delays or, everybody's, especially new build homes here in Orlando, which we deal with a lot with moving to Orlando. Tough time getting supplies and materials, and so we have no idea what impact that's really having on the building of that tower. But right now, based on everything we've heard, we're looking at an opening first half of 2023, I think is a safe bet. But they're going to start selling sometime next year. And we were talking just before we started recording that there'll be 4 DVC properties actively being sold at the same time. We'll have Riviera, we'll have the Disneyland Tower, Aulani, and I'd forgotten about the Grand Floridian expansion. That's going on. Since we have 2 former DVC guides who've had this experience of new resorts coming online, I want to start out with this. What do you think the price per point is going to be for the DVC Tower? Knowing DVC the way you do,
You're
what do
looking
you
at
think?
You're looking at me.
I'm looking at both.
Okay, both
Yeah.
of us. I mean, I say just comparing it to when the Polynesian opened, Copper Creek opened, which is a few years back, looking at popularity of DVC, looking at how it's grown, knowing that it's Disneyland, there's less available, rooms there. I'm shooting in the mid 200 per point, mid to lower end of the 200s per point.
That's what I would have guessed as
Yeah.
well. They need to keep it somewhat competitive,
Mhm.
or they have in the past, right? When a
Yes.
newer resort opens, ironically, sometimes it's priced less than some of the ones that they had, the sold outs and so forth. But knowing the popularity of Grand Cal and the shortage of rooms there, I was thinking in the mid 200s as well.
Because I think the audience here is a little different than the audience we have here in Walt Disney World.
For sure.
Disneyland is a locals park.
Right.
And
Yeah.
locals, especially in Orange County, they're not exactly hurting for cash.
Mm-mm. No.
And with how passionate people are about Disneyland,
hmm
I think they're going to be able to command that price point, because that's what I think it's going to be, about $250.
Yeah.
Yep.
About $250 a point. And I got to be honest,
You're going
I'm
to get
pretty
Are you
sure.
thinking it?
I'm pretty sure
Yeah. They'll
Um,
sell.
they're going to
They'll be able
sell.
to sell it at
Yeah.
that price for
Yeah,
sure.
they
Because
will.
look at what was the Grand California when it launched?
I got mine for under $100 a point.
Wow.
Oh my god.
And what is it selling for now?
Close to 300. Around
Oh.
310.
Well,
310.
again, depending on the
Yeah.
size. Yeah.
So,
That could have been my retirement plan had I
Yeah.
known.
right?
So good.
right?
Oh, well.
Who'd have thunk it?
No.
Because
Yeah.
at that point, like, nothing even close to that.
Right.
And I think it was that California market
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
that helped drive that price up. But it's Disneyland Hotel, and I love the Grand California. I've grown to love the Grand California, and I didn't always. But Disneyland Hotel,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to have a potential marketing hook that no other DVC property has. Disneyland Hotel is the original Disney hotel,
Mhm.
right? It's where the history comes from.
Right.
So they're going to be able, assuming they can get their heads out of their ass, they're going to be able to bang that drum in a way they can't with any other Disney property. And it's going to work on me. Anybody else?
I have always said that my next DVC contract would be the Disneyland Hotel. Being a local in Orlando, getting out to Disneyland more is something I definitely want to do. But also to mention, we just found out recently that Steakhouse 55 is not coming back. That historic, amazing restaurant, very themed towards Walt. So with that not reopening, we have to wonder what is going to come in its place, or what even will we get an awesome signature dining experience at the new tower as well. And if it wasn't already enough to hype people up that we're getting a DVC Disneyland Hotel Tower, if they had some awesome stuff like that to throw into the mix, like, we're reinventing some sort of Walt Disney themed restaurant here at the new tower, or even in Steakhouse 55's old location, that's just going to bump it up even more, I think. And I think, like we just mentioned, there's going to be 4 things selling at once. This is going to be, I think, the leading horse, in my opinion. Everyone's going to want this over everything else, I think.
So, what do you think?
I think a few different things with this. I actually had put the price point higher than what you guys had said.
Okay.
I think that I'm pretty sure the price point is going to be maybe $275, $280. And I thought that because of a few different factors. One is this exodus that kind of happened with the real estate market from California. So people say all the time, Disneyland is a locals park, which it is, but it's kind of the locals park for everyone west of the Mississippi to a degree too. I know lots of people from Texas and on west that are like, we split our time between both, but we just didn't. We go to that one sometimes, we go to this one sometimes. And this year and last year, there were so many people who sold their house in California. They moved to Texas. They moved to Idaho. Those were the two big states that they moved to because they can afford to live for a lot less money. They got much bigger houses. A lot of them were able to retain their jobs back in California. So they're making a lot more money in a lower cost place that they're in now. But a lot of them still have their family members back in California. And so the best way for them to go back and meet up with those family members would be to buy in this tower. So like, and then they could just meet up at Disneyland. Because we used to live in Northern California. We were about 7-8 hours of a drive. And we drove it a lot, like to get down there. So people in the state are very easy. I mean, but even Las Vegas, it's like a 4-hour drive from there. We saw a lot of people relocate to Las Vegas this year. Out of California, specifically into Nevada. Arizona is the only place that's growing more than Florida, essentially, at this point. So there's just too much growth around it with these people who sold, netted a lot of money, and then are able to live off a higher income in a lower income place. And I just don't see any reason that Disney's not going to take advantage of that, mixed with the previous times that they've put stuff up. This is the first time under new management where not just new management from the guy, I can't think of his name. We were just saying how we didn't remember the replacement of Terry Schultz, like whoever this.
Oh yeah,
the accountant man. We don't.
Bill Dirksen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first time under him, but also I believe this is the first DVC resort under Bob Chapek, correct? Or was Riviera?
I think Riviera was. No?
Well, I mean Riviera
Part of
because
it.
he was Parks and Resorts at that point.
Right, but I'm saying in the top dog
in the top position. No.
I know.
So, like,
I think it was Iger, but
right. So the
I could be
mix
wrong.
of all
I don't
those
remember.
things combined, I'm like, I could see them saying, let's push the envelope.
That's a
here.
really, really good point.
And
Yeah.
I would actually hearken it back to, because we think they're going to sell Grand Floridian first. And I think when we see a jump there, because it's going to be fewer rooms at already a really expensive resort here in Orlando. I mean, I think they're going to test the waters with that. Because remember, that kind of just came out of nowhere. Like it wasn't like a thing. I almost think they're going to do it and kind of test like, how far can we push this thing? Because Grand Floridian's the correct thing to push a price jump. Like, what could we do?
That begs the question then. Rob, let me throw this to you. What do you think the Grand Floridian is going to debut at? Do we know yet? They haven't released any prices.
No, they haven't released anything. I got to believe that's going to be getting closer to the mid 200s. I mean, closer to 250. And I agree with Sean that the tower in Disneyland is going to be up there.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it the way when he laid
Just
that
because
out.
of the way that the Grand Cal sold and is selling now with nothing to sell.
See, that's the only thing, though, that gives me pause. And Jody, maybe you can give us some insight to this. Is, Marissa and Derek have talked before that when Grand Californian originally sold, it struggled. Like there were struggles that were happening there.
It was sort of, for lack of a better word, our fallback one because somebody didn't want Bay Lake or one of the other resorts. We had, I believe it was better incentives at the Grand Californian. And so it was sort of our fallback to sort of we treated it like I don't know why I'm blanking out on the word. The network resorts, sorry about that.
Yeah.
The network resorts where we're like, just use your points wherever. And they were cheap. Like I said, I did get the cast member discount. It was under $100 a point, but how things have changed, right? Because now just what that's done price-wise is crazy. But yes, absolutely was not flying off the shelves in the beginning at all.
Oh, I don't know. I think, Sean, you have you've made me reconsider.
I hope Sean's wrong.
Yeah,
I hope he's wrong.
But I'm
you know what?
rethinking it too.
The way he just laid that out, I don't think he is.
So many people are relocating. I know a lot of people. You mentioned Nevada and Arizona. I know a lot of people relocating to Portland and Seattle who are still making the trek down because they're like, oh, it's only a day trip or it's only 8 hours or it doesn't seem like it's that long, but they are diehard Disneyland.
Yeah,
and so you might have made me rethink my
Could we-
to yeah.
Could we see a DVC resort that debuts at $300 a point?
It sounds crazy. I mean, but I thought
think
it was
anything's
crazy
possible.
when it went to 125 a point
Yeah.
when I was working there. I thought, oh, how am I ever going to sell this
Yeah.
at 125 a point now?
Now that's a bargain. That's a
I mean,
fire
yeah.
sale.
Yeah.
I think they're
What
really.
about, Pete, what about when they convert the Star Cruiser to DVC Resort?
Yeah.
Do you think that'd happen?
No. But what do I know?
I
That sends you down a rabbit hole.
and how many do we know how many rooms they're building?
Yes. So I have all the details pulled up from
350?
Paul's article. It's a 12-story tower, 350 rooms. 271 of them are going to be studios. 38 of them are going to be tower studio style rooms. That's not necessarily what they're going to call it, but it's going to be that type of Riviera room style. 19 one-bedrooms, 20 two-bedrooms, and 2 grand villas.
Wow.
It also begs the question: what are the point charts going to look like
Right.
With all those studios.
with all those studios?
Yeah.
What are the point charts?
Well, I think it's interesting that it's all those studios plus very few of these others. I mean, there's 2 3-bedrooms. There's 2. They didn't overload this thing with like tower studios. Like it's like regular studios, right?
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like
Yes.
deluxe
Right.
studios. Yeah, they didn't overload it with that. So I mean, it really frees them up. So it's kind of like we always talk about where I'm always like, I don't want to buy Polynesian because it's too many people jockeying for one room type, but then the disbursement is like bungalows, it's kind of thing. But they don't have that little disbursement thing here. So I'm like, that's going to be pretty high for those deluxe studios because they can save on the thing. Because even if the 3 bedrooms don't go for that much or the 2 bedrooms, if there are a bargain, there's so few of them that like you can't get in one anyway.
Right.
So
Well, let's also ask this question. Based on our experience with Riviera, what do we think resale contracts for the DVC Disneyland Tower is going to be? What do we think we're going to look at there?
I don't think you're referring to with the restrictions.
Right.
Right. I don't think it will take as big of a hit as Riviera because people aren't spending $300 a point buying into Grand Cal or to California Disneyland to go use them at Saratoga Springs. I don't think the restrictions will be as important because they're buying it to stay there.
Yeah.
They're not buying it to stay somewhere else. So I think it won't be as big of a deal as Riviera because people don't want to come to Walt Disney World and only have to stay at Riviera. Whereas if you're spending that kind of money to stay at Grand Californian, you're most likely using it to stay at Grand Californian.
I think that's a really good point. And I also think about the fact that I was stunned how soon after Riviera opened, resale contracts started showing up
Very fast.
on the market. So do we think that'll happen with this?
I don't know. It's always hard to say.
Yeah, you'll see a couple maybe trickle on for various reasons due to hardships in families and stuff like that. But those will be the test balloons that sort of go up and sort of gauge the water of what are people willing to pay for this on the resale market. Because from everything we know, like you were saying, is that this is going to hold the same sort of restrictions that Riviera has. It's sort of part of this new DVC 2 or second generation of Disney Vacation Club. But I agree with what Jody said. I think that the resort itself, people are buying to stay and go to Disneyland. So I don't see it as impacted as Riviera in terms of those restrictions.
Yeah, I think I think it'll do better on the resale market than Riviera's doing because, like, I've thought about getting a contract at Riviera to just stay there, but like, okay, do I really? I mean, I love Riviera; I think it's beautiful, but do I want to really like just have one contract? I can only use the points there.
Right.
Disneyland Hotel would be a different story.
Yeah.
Right.
Would be a much different story. I also think that 11-month window is going to like it is with Grand Californian. It's going to be make or break. It's going to be make or break. If you don't book at the 11-month window, you're not getting it.
You're not staying there unless
Right.
you own there, basically.
So
Yeah.
that's what. Any other thoughts on Disneyland Tower that I'm missing?
I just hope that they take the theming of it, going back to Walt Disney, and keep it that
Yes.
history and heritage moment. Corey, kind of like you said, I had attended this breakfast and we were served this, like, it was at Disney when I was a cast member, and we were served our breakfast on a plate, but then we had like the skillet with the eggs and this, then we had like a tin can that like sardines come in with the potatoes. And we're all like, why are we eating out of a tin can and a skillet? Until we heard that that's one of the most favorite ways that Walt Disney would have his breakfast. And then we were like, I have to take a picture of this and put this on Facebook. Like, then it became special because there was a story tied to it. So I hope that they infuse those little things, because as Disney purists, that's what we love, is especially in Disneyland, is going back to that kind of moment of being around Walt.
I always wonder how true is some of those stories.
Well, I agree, but we did have the archivist there.
Okay.
So that's, yes.
Because sometimes it's like,
Right.
This
is the pencil that Walt used.
Yeah,
How do you know that?
This ice cream was Walt's favorite. Yeah. You sure? Because like there's a lot of that in Disney lore.
Yeah.
In Disney lore. There's a
There
lot of
is
that.
lore,
But kind of tying it back in, if they don't bang that history drum with this tower,
Right.
if they don't, like, you know what would send me over the moon? If everything, if the decor in the rooms was all that mid-century modern.
I was going to say the same thing. I would love it. I would love it.
From like when. Just take my money. I'll sell my businesses. I'll sell everything.
I mean, it's popular again anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, they would be missing such a huge opportunity. It would be mind-boggling for them to not pull on all of that, the original Disneyland stuff.
It would be, yeah. But then again,
who knows?
Weird side question. Does anyone know if the new Grand Floridian rooms are being held to the resale restriction standard?
No.
The general understanding is that they will not be, because they are part of the existing condo association.
Gotcha.
So they will not. Again, Disney could surprise us. They could find a way to contract it in there, but the thought is that they will not hold that standard.
Gotcha.
That's going to make that. Might be an interesting experiment.
True.
Watching something new that doesn't have the restriction sell versus something new that does. Because I honestly thought the resale restrictions were going to just hobble Riviera, and it hasn't. It honestly hasn't. It has definitely driven down the resale price. It's not worth as much as other, really as other properties are. But seems to be. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, there's hurdles with it. There's very few of them on the market still, which I guess is a good thing. But, it means people are liking it and holding on to it for now. But,
or just don't feel like taking the bath they're going to take.
That was the other thing I was thinking, but didn't say. But yeah, especially if they financed it, they're going to be upside down. But, there's a lot of hesitation with people buying it resale. So now I don't know what kind of pushback the direct guides are getting. You weren't there when they were selling.
No, I was not there.
So I would imagine it's for those who are, more educated buyers. I gotta think that's a question that they're asking the guide.
Certainly.
That's got to be a tough sell, I think, for the guides working direct.
Rob, we'll give you the last word. What do you think?
I think I'm looking forward to the final results, getting to see some pictures of what's going to go into the Disneyland Hotel, but I think it's going to sell crazy fast.
Yep, I agree. And we'll see what happens. We got to do a whole show on Grand Floridian. We're going to do a whole show on that. But that, folks, is going to do it for this week's episode of the DVC show. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next week. Take care.